Hello everybody, this is another Still Unbelievable and another one with David, and he's still not showing me his face. What's the matter with you? Are you shy? Are you embarrassed by my gorgeousness? What is it, David? Why can't you show your face here? Is it because it's not your home?
Well, there is a strong prejudice against lizard people. So.
Lizard people don't grow awesome beards. Yeah, have you noticed the beard? Yeah, it's
that's what they want you to think.
Yeah, it's mostly the wrong colour, which is very disappointing. I am at that stage of life where it's impossible for me to grow hair that's reasonable or
Your
decent
beard and
looking.
mustache is almost exactly the same in placement and shape as my beard and mustache.
Oh, there we go. We're almost as cool as each other. There we go. Is your beard this uncool on your face, though?
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
You were supposed to show your video so you could prove just how great you looked, but you still can't handle
your
it.
face is all people have to do is put a little darkening filter on your face, and it's me. I mean, you're the whole team right there.
Well, given the climate change predictions for the UK this week, maybe I just need to stand outside for 5 minutes and it'll be job to good. And so, yeah. So we're recording this on a Monday, the Monday before the week that the UK has been predicted to have its highest ever in recorded history June temperature. So there you go. Climate change is warming up the environment. Today I've drove home through serious thunderstorms of such a scale I don't think I've ever seen in the UK before. It literally made me feel like I was driving in Zambia all those years ago, even though I didn't actually drive in Zambia because I wasn't old enough. And David, you said you were having storms as well. It can't be the same storm spreading across the Atlantic, surely.
No, it can't. It's just a thing.
It's God hating us. That's why his miracles are real. God hates us. One way or another, he's going to stop this conversation happening.
It's possible because my power went out twice before this conversation.
So what you're telling me is
now.
So what you're telling me is this is not going to be 3 hours this time.
Not a chance. Look, either the weather's going to get me or the power company, for lack of bill payment, is going to get me. One way or the other, this podcast is probably going to
It's
probably going to end abruptly.
You had me looking to see if your image was still a live image or it had frozen. I hate it when you do this to me. Look, listeners, David does this to me every single time we speak, and every single time, because I'm such a good Christian, I give him grace and he does it to me again. It is disgusting.
Hey, that's why I do it, because you just keep falling for it. I mean, honestly, figure it out, man.
I pity the fool who has a relationship with you, sir. I really do.
Look, telemarketing works because fools keep picking up the phone. What can I say?
Right. Okay. Serious business. So as well as being a stormy week, literally here in the UK, we're going to have a new Prime Minister, and it's been ugly. It really has. The decent guy. Yes, people say he's boring. Frankly, as a political leader, I want somebody who's boring, because boring people get stuff done. They don't shout about it. They don't waste time playing golf or talking about how great they are. They literally build relationships with people and get things done. That's what I want in a political leader. So I'm really genuinely disappointed by what's happened. We've had trial by right-wing press, and we've had a furore of US politicians critiquing our Prime Minister very publicly, very role of office behaviour like you don't see any other country. Well, you do see some other countries talking smack about other political leaders, but those are normally countries which are despicable countries. So when I saw on Twitter over the weekend all those repugnants, must use the right word, talking so badly and so downwardly about political leaders in other countries, specifically my country, that left me very disappointed. And it just shows the way politics is not now just toxic within countries, it's toxic cross borders. And I think that's a new thing, and I think it's a terrible thing, and I don't like it. But anyway, That's happened.
Well,
We now
hang
have a
on.
new.
I was not aware that Canada had gotten a new president. Where where are you from? You're one of. Is it one of those shithole countries? I mean, just I can't remember.
Oh, dear me. The abuse continues. You do realize we're recording, don't you?
Oh, okay, never mind.
I love you, Canada.
I like their song. I mean, they're right out there. Oh, Canada. And then that's all anyone can remember. And so that's really all a song, an anthem needs.
Well, at least
No
people get
bullshit
to.
about flags and.
Yeah. At least people get to be reminded of what the name of their country is.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Canada. Um, so where you're in Britain though, obviously. I know peripherally that America just had our midterms. Midterms can be important, but I have not followed those. So actually, I don't even know what happened in our own midterms because I don't give a shit about much of it right now. Uh, if I'm being perfectly honest. Um, so tell me about the campaign and the candidates and the winner and the political outlook because I really haven't been paying attention.
Well, there hasn't been candidates in the campaign as such. It's basically been our Prime Minister Keir Starmer has been hounded into resigning. He has made a couple of decisions in the past 6 months which have brought justified criticism, let's put it that way.
I'm
And
sorry, I forgot. You guys don't have elections. You have a king. Okay.
yeah, no, yeah, right, okay. Who
I haven't
who
studied
fortunately
civics in a
doesn't
while.
have much political clout, frankly.
Oh,
And what literally does have, he doesn't use because if he uses it, he might lose it, which is quite
I'm going to stop
hilariously.
interrupting because people are going to think I have no sense. Um,
So yeah, so Keir Starmer has announced that he's going to stand down. So we're going to have a new. So the Labour Party, who's our ruling party at the moment, are going to have internal voting for a new leader of the Labour Party, and that leader will
okay.
by default become the Prime Minister to replace Keir.
Right.
So that's how it's going. So it's not a general election; it's a party election because we are still in a 5-year period of leadership by the Labour Party, which is right. But one of the grave errors that Keir Starmer did do, and it was a lack of judgment, it was pretty embarrassing, and he does deserve criticism for it. Excuse me. Was he appointed a gentleman by the name of Peter Mandelson as US ambassador, and he's a guy with a shady past. He's been given positions of power and fired from them multiple times. He really has got a shady past. A lot people who know him well talk badly about him. He's got an unfortunate relationship stroke friendship with Trump and Epstein, which probably tells you
Mm,
a little bit
mm,
about the kind of stuff you don't really want to know about him. And Keir was apparently by several people told that this is an appointment that should not be made, but Mandelson seems to have the right people, the ear of the right people, and managed to promote himself into that position, even though he didn't have any power to do so. But he had the ear of the right people, so he said, "Give me that job," and he got that job. And Keir Starmer is paying the price of that because he should have stood his ground against him, and that has made him look weak. It's made him look like a yes man. It's made him look like the leader that he not look like the leader that people wanted him to be. And I think ultimately that cost him a lot of respect, and he has been
mm.
hounded into having to resign. But I think the Mandelson debacle was probably the thing that ended it for him.
Yeah. I hate politics. I I remember when I was younger, um, there was this idea. I mean, there are always jokes about politicians and lawyers. That those were always there, but there was still an idea, maybe a leftover of our innocence as a nation, that politicians were good, upstanding creatures who are trying to do their best. And every now and then they'd run into a situation where, something shady had to happen. But
Mhm.
even that was for our good, because it's hard to run a country and that sort of thing. And to so that was the innocent time that I grew up in. And I cared about politics because there were like some rules, some unwritten moral rules that guided it. You
Mhm.
know, if you had a person and you found out that they were like a certain way, they'd be tossed out or they would never get elected. These days we don't have that innocence. That crazy innocent veneer is just gone,
Mhm.
and we see our politicians as the corrupt, dare I say, evil, worst of the worst people out there. I mean,
Mhm.
your lecherous construction worker would make a better leader, uh, morally speaking, than any of the leaders that we have, because it's not on the table anymore as a consideration. Um, and so it's like, I don't want to get religious, but it's like el- electing your senators or your president or your premier or whatever from a pool of demons. Which of the demons do you want to vote for? Um, None, literally none. Literally, I just want to try anarchy for a while. Literally,
Yeah.
literally, just go to hell. And that I think is a great loss because um, I don't want to vote. I don't want to be for anybody because there is this sense that they're all bad, and I understand that one of the tools of political people who actually are evil is to make the public seem like, well, everybody's evil, so you just as well vote for me, and it kind of, in a weird way, takes the spotlight off of them.
Mhm.
So I get that I am falling into that pattern. Nonetheless, it just looks like everybody's evil.
Yeah.
And you get in order to change the political system, uh, you got to get even the quote unquote good guys out because the good guys in Washington are still just the best of the demon pool.
Mhm.
You got to clean it all out. And the thing is, it's impossible to do it all at once.
Yeah.
The only way to do that is via coup, and it would have to be so big of a coup because America, you don't just topple the presidency. That's easy. All right, big deal, because you've got House of Representatives, you got the Senate, you got the lifetime appointed Supreme Court. You can't topple America by military power in the form of a coup.
Mhm.
Might happen in Britain, could never happen here. Just theoretically, it could never happen. And so, from my perspective, I mean, maybe you have reason to think, well, another few years, another group will be in power, and then they will be able to appoint people and so forth. But in America, it just doesn't work that way. So we could elect a new president in a couple of years and still have decades. You'd need decades of constant electing of the best possible people to change things a little.
Yeah.
And the reason we've managed to get as bad as we are, it's always easier to make things bad than good. But also, the people that we've elected have speed run destroying the checks and balances of democracy. I used to say no one man, even for 8 years, could destroy America. It's too much red tape, too
Mhm.
too many checks and balances. But if you replace enough of the right people and remove enough of the checks and balances, you can set America back for 40 years. And I think that that's where we are. We're not one president away. We're 10 presidents away to get back to where we were maybe 8 years ago.
Yeah, and that's
That
sad and disappointing.
right. So I don't, from my perspective, I'm not campaigning for anybody. I'm not voting for. Don't even ask me who I will vote for in the next. I don't care. Fuck them all. A pox on all of their houses because the houses are our houses. We know who they are. There's no childlike uh uh naivete about who these people are. We know who they are, and so for the rest of my life, however many years that is, I think that whatever time I spent thinking about politics, that's been freed up now for me to think about something else. I just cannot imagine a time in my lifetime when I will give a shit about politics again. And that's a bad place. And you are at least in a place where it's worth it to give a shit about politics. And so I envy you that.
Thank you, David. And I do give a shit about politics, and I've tried to pass it on as much as I can to my daughter. But I understand where you're coming from, and talking to people locally, I've seen a change in the conversations. Average person politics in the UK used to be they had the party that they supported and everyone else was shit, but they talked good about the party they supported. The kind of conversations I have nowadays, everybody thinks everybody is shit, and so they don't see the point in voting. So, which seems to be the kind of thing that you're expressing. They
Yeah.
don't trust anybody, so they can't be bothered to vote for anybody. Whereas I'm still trying to make a shout for a particular corner and particular individuals to try to make it worth voting for somebody. Because I still, at the heart of it, believe that it's worth voting. But I detest to the very core of my being the idea of holding my nose and voting for the least bad person on the list. That would be a very sad day if I feel that that is what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, in America, that's all we can do. Uh, and our system, again, I don't know uh, xenocivics. So I don't know what you Martians do for your civics. What I but I know a little bit about ours, uh, and so even if you care deeply about politics for a long time, it has mostly been um, a performative art because of our electoral college, which I really get a strong feeling that most Americans do not understand. They do not understand it. They don't get it at all. They believe that we're a democracy and that the popular vote wins. But we've had a few situations where the popular vote hasn't won, and people are all
Mm,
upset. But we got more votes. No, shut up.
mm,
go go take an eighth grade civics class. Um, if we even still talk about the kind of stuff. So the Electoral College, and I'm not going to lecture on this very dull topic, I promise. But the upshot is, depending on where you live and how entrenched the party is where you live, your vote really doesn't count. It doesn't count. I'm in Mississippi. I don't care if I don't care what person they put on the ticket for the opposition party. Mississippi is not going to vote for him. It's not even going to be close. And so your vote is not going to actually go toward your candidate. It's just going to be dead
mm.
because that candidate didn't win your state, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And so the candidate who wins the state, they get all of the state's electoral votes. Now, there are some states that split their electoral votes. Like I said, I'm not going to give up some long, boring lecture on this. But the point is, your vote is not a 1-to-1. You voted for Democrat, therefore Democrat got a vote. It's you voted for Democrat in an overwhelmingly Republican state. So Democrat got buckus.
Right.
and
Yeah.
so it because of the way the system is and because of how polarized the country is, your vote really doesn't count. So it's that's a hot take, I'm sure, for a lot of people who lived their lives saying every vote counts. No, it doesn't. You don't understand the system. Um, in order for your vote to count, you're going to need you and about 12 million of your closest friends to overturn what your state will vote. This is why in America you hear things like swing states. A
Mhm.
term like swing state, that means that the vote is so close between Republicans and Democrats in your state that a few votes here or there could turn the state from red to blue. It's a swing state. Politicians live in those swing states around elections because those are the ones that count. They don't need to come here. Okay. The Democrats not going to win. The Republicans not going to lose. They don't need to show up here. They spend their time stomping swing states. Okay. And if you don't live in one of those, your vote probably doesn't count. And so, again, it's you add that onto the fact that there's no one really good on the ticket anyway. Fuck it all. And so, yeah, I think when you hear me say that, you think, ah, that's a shame. But that's compounded by the way our party system works. So it's not just, oh, David's given up on politics. It's that I live in places where it doesn't matter.
Right.
So
Yeah, it feels like some reform is in order. So, how many votes from the opposite need to be registered before your uh, shoe in, before your guaranteed representative actually starts to take notice and thinks, you know what, maybe I ought to change some of my policies to attract those other people?
yep. Look, it depends on the state. All right. So as you can imagine, in states where they're very strong, 60, 70, 80%, they don't need to worry about those. Okay.
Mm.
Just forget it. Um, if I say 60, 70, 70 plus percent, they don't even need to think about it. But if they're somewhere near 45, 40, 45, maybe the party in that state, they're not trying to win so much. They're just trying to gain a few points so that in 12 years, you might have enough gains to make this a swing state and challenge.
Mm.
Right? But you don't have a chance to do that in any given election. You need to do that over the course of years, maybe decades. And they're just fighting for a few points here, a few points there. Maybe we can get it close enough so that we could win a House race. Uh, we could win a Senate race uh, in a couple of years for the midterms, and so they're planning ahead in states like Mississippi. No one in Mississippi in the Democratic Party is thinking, "Oh, we're going to swing it. We're
Mm.
gonna get those three electoral votes or however many electoral votes there are." No, that's not how it works at all.
Oh, that must be disappointing and frustrating at the same time.
It's pretty fun in New
Yeah.
Jersey. I could care.
Right.
you know,
Do your elected representatives so have part of their elected responsibilities to actually engage and meet with the general public?
I don't know. I mean, they do sometimes. I don't know if they have to.
Right.
It's kind of like on a starship in the Star Trek universe. Is one particular episode is Year of Hell. It was a two-part series, and Janeway was never going to the bridge during that time, and she said, "The captain, I can I can captain from anywhere on the ship. And so I think it's probably a lot like that. I mean, they can send it from anywhere. They don't have to go to town hall meetings. Um, your local politicians, they go to those meetings. That's where they live. Your House of Representatives, that person will come home probably a little bit more often and have some involvement. The Senate candidate will come home once every 6 years um, to, to shore up his base when it's time for election. So, at, at the Washington level, they don't really have to be all that involved. But once again, when you're the losing party, at the heart of it, there's this saying: all elections are local. Uh, well, all elections are local in a sense because you're trying to put people on the school board. Um, that election moves you up the ladder to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing, and then you get a mayoral candidate, and then maybe a gubernatorial candidate, who can then at some point go to the Senate. You see, but it's a long game.
You got to be in it for the long road then.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah,
Right.
I was very energetic when I was younger, and I feel uh, probably about the age of Kirk when he said, "We've done our bit for king and country." So yeah, I'm pretty much done with king and country for a while.
Fair enough. Maybe it is actually time that we took you over and showed you how to rule properly with a king and a country.
Would
But...
you? Would you? I mean,
So,
I mean,
sadly, I don't think anyone's got it in them. So
I'll help you take over
yeah,
Mississippi. It's pretty easy.
we, but we're clearly good at something because we seem to be doing okay helping out Ukraine. But I wish we'd be a little bit more active and actually do something to help punch Putin.
Is Ukraine
But
still there?
it is still there. It is still there. They're
Okay.
doing some very
Yeah.
active drone-based incursions into Russia. They've definitely become far more offensive in the past 6 months. I have
Good.
some information about something to do with the drones that are going across there. I will not say any more than that. And so it's
So
nice
you're
to know.
programming the drones.
It's not quite that involved in case anybody else is listening. I know someone. It's got nothing to do with anything that I do.
Right. Your immediate supervisor.
My role is to do with making lovely, refreshing beverages on a hot day. It's got nothing to do with flight devices. Just in case
Yeah, no,
anybody is
I
thinking of
understand. That's
targeting me.
code. Refreshing beverages, a hot day. That's a clear path to the target. No, I understand. Don't
Yeah.
worry. I got you.
Yeah,
got
thank you.
I,
Right.
in fact, I'm having a refreshing beverage myself.
Yeah.
Wink, wink.
I'm rather afraid to say it, but what I could really do with right now is a nice long cold blue pool that I could dive into and get some refreshments. But you guys don't even have those over there anymore.
Pools.
Pools.
I have a pool in my HOA. So we've got a swimming pool.
You've got the swimming pool. Does it actually work? It's not like that one that we've been seeing on the news. Because in the news, as far as we can see, you guys only have one pool. It's very large, very shallow, and very green. I thought that was the only pool in America.
No. We have maybe. Is there a different British word for pool?
Clearly.
What is a pool?
Clearly.
Maybe.
But I do have a very serious
run that
question
through
based
the,
on
British
that.
translation here. real
Yeah.
quick.
Oh, you just don't want to answer the
Ocean.
question. That's it. I do have a serious question. It's sort of politics, sort of pool based. When Trump says obvious bullshit like that pool was sabotaged, do people actually believe it? Are there people who actually believe him when he says that somebody else sabotaged the pool, or do they just nod
There are
and go,
people who
"Yes, it was
actually
you"?
believe, no, they actually believe is the reincarnation of David. So, yeah,
Oh,
you can't. The,
oh,
the, I cannot. I've been saying this for years. It's impossible to straw man Christianity. Just try. Try. Do your best. Do your best to come up with the most ridiculous thing that was straw man Christianity. Guarantee you there are 17 people on a rock right now saying, "Yep, that's right. That's right, brother." You can't straw man Christianity. And so when I say that there are people who actually believe he's the reincarnation of King David, literally so.
yeah. Right. Anyway, let's not stay on politics for too long because it's been almost half an hour already, David, or maybe it already has. I did have a story I wanted to discuss. So before we risk anything else, let's go to that story. Let's see if oh, look at that. It's on the screen.
Okay.
And because you don't have a picture on the screen, I can put it straight over your side of the screen. So I sent you this picture. Let's get the right browser up here. This story here, the Church of England, excuse me again, Church of England between 1949 and 1976. Do the maths, people. That's how long ago it was. Thousands of unmarried women were pressured into giving up their babies for adoption through a system partly overseen by churches. The Church of England has now, 2026, apologised for its part. But Tom Bright says repentance must be matched by action. Why would it take the church so long to apologise for that, David? Do I even need to ask you that question?
Honestly, um, so I did read the story. I was going to pretend like I didn't. But I think my understanding of the situation is kind of almost like I didn't read the story. Um, it reminds me of the church and Galileo. Um, uh, they treated him kind of badly uh, because theology over truth or what have you. And it was maybe 15 years ago now. I don't actually remember. It may have been more recent than that. The Catholic Church put out a statement saying we were wrong about Galileo. And I'm thinking like, okay, I don't even why even bother
Mm.
at this point? They're all dead. uh, but but good on you for uh, getting that black mark off of your history so that people can quit snickering at you for being the church that denies science. And things kind of went. Some people, had some sense of, yeah, well, you should do more, but that's kind of always silly. So in this case, yeah, at some time ago, the Church of England had some really interesting ideas about uh, adoption. Uh, so I thought that I would say a thing that would be unpopular in this community, maybe even unpopular to me at times, but their big crime was that they pressured mothers into putting their babies, their sin babies, uh, up for adoption. They didn't pressure them into aborting the sin babies. So the baby's got a chance to live and have a life. Is it ideal? Is there suffering in adoption? Absolutely, no question about that. No one's arguing that, except crazy conservatives maybe. Um, but in the grand scheme of things, you're looking at a few hundred years ago. I I barely consider that a crime worth apologizing for, to be honest. And I have no idea what more some of these people want the church to do. But if I can just add one more thing before turning it back over to you, the other thing that came to mind when I was reading that is uh, not so long ago, slavery. Um, Not so long ago, Christian churches very much before slavery, after slavery, something almost worse than slavery, Jim Crow, for quite a period. The church very much for that. We still have pictures. You can find them online of white churches with signs in front of them that said "whites only." Not all that long ago. So, do we have these reparations callers? Um, when they're done with these adoption crimes, are they going to come around and say, by the way, the church needs to apologize for treating blacks so poorly and also reparations? Let me help you with that. The answer is no. No. So again, it's hard to read stories like that without some cynicism and think you're just doing outrage theater. Because if you really were getting all bent over something like that, there were things you could have gotten bent over a long time ago, and you still could if you gave a shit. So, um, it's an interesting story. I haven't thought about it much more than that, so I'm curious to hear your insight on it. And also, I'm glad that all of these babies got adopted.
Yes, uh, yes to that. And there is a bigger picture that I want to draw attention to. Yes, on the face of it, this is a story of the church taking a ridiculously long period of time to recognize, acknowledge, and then apologize for crimes that it committed. But the bigger picture here, the deeper picture here, which does actually concern me and I do speak out against, is the foundation of this kind of policy of forcing young mothers into giving up their children was a foundation of a type of morality that didn't fit society. This is a religiously based set of rules and behaviors that are untenable and unfollowable. You're holding people up to impossible standards and then punishing them for failing while giving grace and permission and forgiveness to your own side, to your own people. So there's a big, huge story of the church having this kind of behavior. So I think that's the bigger picture here. And we're entering now into a world off the back of all of the right-wing leaning of everything, is these kinds of religious people are once again having huge vocal voices. I'm even seeing in my social media feed people who are saying that people should undo their second marriages because a second marriage is adultery and they need to undo their second marriage, and they're starting to put pressure onto people who have left a marriage which wasn't good for them, got themselves into a healthy second marriage, and they try and say, no, that marriage is sinful, that marriage is wrong, that marriage is adulterous, you need to leave that marriage. So we're once again in a world where Christians have invented something which is untenable, created the resolution to that as a sin, and are now trying to resolve the sinful resolution, and they are creating more and more pain on top of pain. And I think this whole thing about forced adoption is a growth from that kind of morality. And my concern is, in the world that we're going into now, we're going to see something else like this. Now, I'm thankful that because of the decline of Christianity, the number of people who will be forced to leave their second marriages isn't going to be anywhere near like the number of people who are forced to be adopted. But we are going to see quiet pressure, because I think the day in which the churches can make this kind of pressure overt and institutional is gone. But what it does mean is this kind of pressure will be underground, and it will be hidden from the glare of society. It'll be hidden outside of institutions. It will be hidden outside of areas where they can be inspected. And we're seeing the same with conversion therapy as well. And we're going to see more of that, but underground, because modern society won't tolerate that as part of official. So I am concerned that churches are going to continue to make this kind of thing, and because it'll be underground, because it'll be hidden, because it'll be more actively covered up, we will not see apologies for it in the future. So that is my concern about the picture at which where this kind of story comes from and where it is going to lead to. Because I think where it's going to lead to, while numerically will be a smaller number of people, I think impactfully, I think those people will suffer greater harm than what we're seeing by the harm done by these people in this story.
Are you sure we're only separated by one ocean? Um,
Don't you dare
because
disagree with me on that.
I mean, it looks so much different from this side of the wet here. Um, that it may be true in Britain. It's not true in America at all. In America, we're doing more pressuring of uh, young women and girls to give up their babies, not less. We love that
Wow.
kind of thing.
I'm sorry, David.
We're not against that. What are you talking about? Because for us, abortion is on the table, and so rather than help unprepared mothers set up and have a successful parentage, the answer is give it up for adoption. So the situation, we would never apologize for that. That's we're apologizing for the cure. That's what you want us to do, and so that's how we see uh, that today. And as far as you know, the crazies coming out and saying giving up your second marriage, I would agree that that's happening more. But for us, that happens uh, out loud and in public. So rather than that going underground, that'll be taught in schools in 5 years, in public schools in 5 years. So again, I don't see what you see there. I see it
Mm.
getting much worse because this country right now, power is in the hands of the craziest form of right wing religion there is. That's who holds political power, and our laws are being changed to accommodate that fact. Our Constitution is being reinterpreted by the day to accommodate that fact. No church is going to be looking to apologize for any of these things. In 50 years, there'll be some guy screaming, "Make America great again," the way it was in 2026. Um, this is what we consider the greatness. These are the good times. We're bringing them back. Um, so, yeah, I don't. Um, uh, yeah, that's it's it, politics. There was a time when I got started, I didn't talk about politics. It was almost a hard no on Skeptics and Seekers. But it became very clear fairly quickly that religion is politics, um, especially here. Where you are, it became less so.
Mm.
Here, it became more so. And so it's impossible to talk about religion without talking about politics. And once again, the craziest form of right wing religion is what is in power here, political power. So it's there are no degrees of separation between the two things, and there are no apologies coming from anybody who's alive today who's in power.
Yeah. Okay. And I guess what that does for me is seeing what you've just said. And yes, I was talking exclusively from UK context, and I keep forgetting that America context on things like this is very different. You know, the religious nut jobs are the ones in power, are the ones doing policy. We don't have that here, and you need a big change in the religiosity of your nation in order to address that. And you don't have enough of a change there yet. So I sympathise. But I guess what it does do for me is when I see the fervour of the people saying the things that you and I both see from Christians in our social media, you can kind of see how long it took to turn the boat around for the Church of England to go, yeah, actually what those guys did back then was a bit shit. We really ought to say sorry, chaps. But they're all dead now. All the people who made those decisions are all dead now.
Yeah.
And we have a comedian here in the UK called Dara O'Brien. He's Irish, and I went and saw him do his comedy tour 2 years ago, I think it was. And in that comedy tour, it was very funny, very brilliant. He's scientifically literate, brilliant comedy tour, and he told jokes and stuff. But in amongst the jokes, he told this story of discovering that he was adopted and discovering his real mother, his birth mother, and the story around his adoption. And the story, because Ireland was a much more religiously entrenched country than the UK. The church and specific individuals became part of that. And there was a point where he dropped the bombshell in the auditorium about the person that encouraged his adoption. That's euphemism, obviously. But the woman that encouraged his adoption, encouraged his mother to adopt him, that handled everything, that did it all. And he just drops these nuggets, and you realise that this person who he names multiple times was much more entrenched in the process than you realise. It wasn't a person just stood back, just trying to do their best. It was somebody who was motivated through other interests to actually drive women towards adoption. And when he dropped that final shell at the end, no word of a lie, there was a singular gasp of intake of breath across the entire auditorium as everybody realized the shock and the horror and the awfulness of what was actually being done to these women 50 years ago. And it was terrible. And then kudos to somebody like this for telling his story in a very personal and very witty way, but it made a very serious point. And I think a lot of people came out of that realizing, oh my God, this was far, far worse on a human level than I ever appreciated. And I think what I'm seeing now in my social media in the US and the pressure that you talked about there is overt and is out there in the open. It's the same thing, and it is causing genuine and very real harm for people. And you're not going to see an apology for 50 or 60 years, and it's shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is what the world looks like when religion gains power. I often challenge, or at least I used to when people would take me up on it, Christians to tell me, um, give me a theocracy, give me any place in history. You've got the entire scope of history.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the entire scope of the planet. Name me one theocracy that worked and that you would like to bring back. Just one. Can't do it. It's all shit. It's all awful. It was awful at the time, and it's awful today. And if you want to get a sense of what theocracies looked like in the past, I mean, America, we're just a baby theocracy right now. As awful as we are, multiply that
Mm-hmm.
times 100. That's what a theocracy looks like. Not even a Christian would want to live in that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when churches they can get a break because they're a religious institution and the law does not land on them the same way as individuals. And in America, individuals can get away with doing awful things just because they're religious. And in the court, it would be, yeah, oh, well, this person had a religious conscience to do it. You can find that now winding its way through our courts and constitutional law. Well, that person, they acted that way or they chose not to do their job that affected these people because of their religious conscience. Okay, well, that's okay then. That's an entailment of it. And if the church says, yeah, we encouraged thousands of women to give up their babies so that those children will be raised by stable Christian families and no atheist uh, or homosexual families or that. Um, that's what the right wing Christian voter wants.
Hmm.
That's not going underground. Nobody's ashamed of that. I just need to be clear about that. That's the goal.
Mm.
So when you tell that story to those of us on this side of the ponds, because there have to be many, the Christian is going, "You're right on." And what are they apologizing for?
Yeah. I'd like to
So,
see, I want to see some commentary from other Christians about that story and see what their take is, to see how different they are from me. I'm going to look it up, see if I can find some of that.
good luck. Good luck. Let me know the next time we do this. I would love to have a follow up on that. Look, I read a lot of Christio-political stories because I live an unhealthy part of my life in the Christian Post. So I don't do as shorts most of that type of story I come across because I still have an aversion to pure politics, and a lot of Christian news sites and blogs are just either all political all the time or all celebrity all the time. They're like Christian TMZ. Um, I find those stories to be just not useful, not helpful. So yeah, let me know. I maybe next time I'll bring some of those stories that I reject and don't do
Yeah,
um,
you do that. And
podcasts on.
listeners, viewers, whatever, that story, it'll be a link to it in the show notes. If you see anybody Christian talking about that story, let me know. Put it in the comments on the YouTube video or email me, reasonpress@gmail.com, and we will see what happens. It will be very cool. But David, I'm
They won't.
intrigued.
They
Yeah,
won't
they
see
won't.
it.
Nobody ever emails me. I'm just not a serious
They,
enough
I
individual.
mean,
Email
I'm just
me,
telling you, that's
please. Make me feel
not the
popular.
kind of story that Christians are going to read and connect with. They're
Yeah,
just not here.
yeah, I know. They're going to say, how shameful that somebody apologized for being godly and truthful.
That would be the story.
That would be the
Church of
story.
England apologizes for doing the right thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I do have a question I do want to ask because I'm intrigued by this question. You're going to laugh at me, but you always laugh at me. So what's the difference anyway? Part of what got me into challenging and questioning my Christianity was while I was a Christian, I rolled up my sleeves, rolled up my trouser legs, and I walked into the swamp of evolutionary atheism, and it started infecting me. And now I'm a horrible, toxic atheist. If you're going to be spending time over at the Christian Post,
mhm.
aren't you going to get infected and go back that way?
No, no, no. Honestly, so one of the topics that were more on the theological side that I was going to ask you as, in the form of a question um, is as you do more of this stuff, how do you take Christians seriously? And not just Christianity. I obviously can't take Christianity seriously anymore, but just the people who promote it. Because at some point it kind of bleeds from being an issue to the people promoting the issue after a while. You can say, no, I hate racism. I don't hate racists.
Oh, I hate racists.
Uh, yeah, well, there's the thing though. I hate racists, right? That may or may not be a consistent policy, maybe
But
a
I
nasty policy,
I
but
get the point.
it's
Yes.
that love the sinner, hate the sin, which I always
Mm,
found ridiculous. And so you eventually you say things like, "Look, I'm not trying to put down the people. You have a
mm,
right to believe what you want to, and God love you. I'm just criticizing the belief
yeah.
itself, if we make that distinction. But at some point, if we're being perfectly honest, that distinction is impossible to make. anymore. You know, I don't make a distinction between what the Ku Klux Klan stands for and the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah.
There's no distinction. So if I catch you in a hood, if I catch you out of a hood, you've taken off your hood, and now you just have some ephemeral beliefs about things. I'm still going to punch you in the face. I
Yeah.
still hate you,
Yeah.
right? So I'm not, in fact, able to separate the belief from the person. And so the question you asked me, I forgot exactly what it was, but so segued into this, I'm going to send it back to you because I deal with people on the board in discussion, sometimes on other discussion boards in areas where I play. Um, and my inclination is I want to treat people like people, respectably, regardless of their beliefs. And the reality is, I can't. There
Mhm.
is no regardless of your beliefs because you as a person are, in large part, your beliefs.
Mhm.
You are your beliefs, right? So, um, I taking your beliefs away from you and then treating you like I think you are without those beliefs is just creating another person. I'm not dealing with the person who's actually in front of me if I engage with you without considering your beliefs. So the only honest way I can engage with you is to understand your beliefs and keep your beliefs intact. And so at some point, you're a shitbag. You're a
Yeah.
you're a
So where's the
um,
line? Yeah.
you're a piece of shit fuckface. That's what you are.
Yeah.
And so how do you manage to toe the line between, and maybe what is the right line? I'm asking a kind of a moral question here, as someone who interacts with people who sometimes I very strongly disagree with because they are saying terrible, terrible things. How, how is how is the right way to handle that? How do you regard and then interact with people who believe terrible things?
There's a long answer to that, David. The My rule of thumb, probably the first way that I would have is I will mostly. It's not always been true, so hence mostly take a cue from how they treat me, and I'll get back to
Okay.
that point. If
Mhm.
this is somebody who I can have a mutual respect with, then fine, and I'll make the extra effort. But I do make a point of having a very spiky brand here at Still Unbelievable. I don't shy away from that. Maybe I've said it too many times and scared a few people away. If you're one of those people, say hello. Uh, but so it's. I would like to just draw an analogy, and I'll get back to this point because I think this is an analogy that kind of works and kind of gets the point across. You know, I'm vegan. You know that I've been vegan since the whole COVID shitbag hit the planet. So we're talking
Mhm.
6 years now. And in those 6 years, there have been a couple of opportunities where the question of how does being vegan affect those around me
Mhm.
and that kind of thing. And it's gone from little things to slightly bigger things. If I entertain friends and guests round at my house, it is expected that they will tolerate my vegan food. I will not cook them food for them that is not vegan. They will only
Mhm.
eat vegan products when they're visiting me. They also know that if they expect to host me at their place, I will only eat vegan products. So if they want to entertain me fully and wholly, they have no choice. They have to provide me with food products that are vegan. They're, both those are true and both those are unavoidable. But then you get to slightly more nuanced things like this is real, this is a true story. I was visiting my brother over Christmas a couple of years ago, and they ran out of milk. And we arrived there in the morning, and my brother said, "Oh, sorry, I forgot. I should have asked you to pick up some milk when I was on the way." And I said to him, "I will not buy non-animal based products." And he says, "What you would expect?" And then we had a conversation about morality, and both of us were saying they were forcing the other to abide by their morality. And I was saying, "You expect me to bend my morality to make you happy." And he was saying, "No, you're expecting me to bend my morality to make me happy." And it took us a while to work through that. And at the end of it, I sat down and I thought to myself, you know what? It wasn't such a big thing, and my brother is more important to me than a carton of milk. And maybe in that scenario, it's actually acceptable for me to say, you know what? Fuck it. I'll buy the dairy milk for my brother for peace, because for that scenario, it's worth it. I don't have to consume it. And yes, still buying it is giving money and giving support to the atrocious dairy industry. But there's a bigger picture here for maintaining a great relationship with my brother. We've moved past that, but it brought to light that actually sometimes in life you have to face difficult questions, and they come to focus on what could be something that's insignificant. And you have to make a decision on what is more important to you in that moment. And it might be something petty that enables you to focus. So, bigger picture here. You know that I have friends who are close to me who are Christians, not just my wife, it's people of the church that my wife goes to, and there are wider Christians as well. I can probably count off the top of my head 3, there may be more if I make an effort, people who I count as friends, who are safe people for me, who are all vicars or pastors or church leaders in authority of one point or another. And these are all people who I know without a shadow of a doubt, if I was in a problem place, they would all provide me with practical and emotional support, and they are safe people for me to be with. So can I judge those 3 people with the same mentality that I judge some of the social media Christians that I engage with, the kind of Christians who will say to me boldly, without any blink of an eye, without any hesitation, that I was never a real Christian, that I never truly felt the Holy Spirit, and I get this still on a regular basis? Or people will say all sorts of straw man things about what I have to believe as an atheist. As an atheist, you have to believe in these 6 miracles. Oh, do fuck off. Yeah. So do I judge those people who are close friends of mine who are also Christians by the same values in which I judge those other Christians? And the answer is no. And again, to make it personal, and again, I won't name names because this is deeply personal. Close friends of Sarah, my wife, and I, who are Christians, had a tragedy in their close friendship circle. Somebody that Sarah and I have never met, but somebody who they cared about very much, and died way too young from a very aggressive form of cancer. They saw the diagnosis, decline, and death and it was terrible for them. And as part of, and during their grieving process, Sarah and I got some tickets to go and spend at a concert in London, and we knew this was a concert that they would appreciate, and so we said, why don't you guys come and have a weekend with us in London? The 4 of us will go and have this concert in London. We'll have a weekend away from the stress of where our lives are, and we'll just have a chill time together. We'll drink, etc. Remember, these 2 are Christians, very strong, very dedicated Christians, and what we experienced that weekend was a lot of drinking. And these people expressed their grief to Sarah and myself in a visceral way that I have never, and I literally mean this, never seen anyone express grief to me before. And we saw them get very drunk. And there was no judgment from me. over that. I knew the state they're in. I was not saying, how dare these people who are Christians behave like this. That wasn't even on my radar. It was, these are people who are hurting. But Sarah and I obviously talked about it afterwards. And I asked Sarah the question, I said, do you think that because I'm atheist and don't have the baggage of Christian rules of behaviour, that those two people, our friends, feel that they're more free to express themselves with me? And she said, yes, without a doubt. You are safe for that because you're not a Christian. And I love them for that. And I love them that they can trust me and appreciate me for that. I don't see it as a service because I'm just being me. But if they can feel themselves free as Christians to express themselves like that in me, then I do not deserve to deny them that carton of milk to, they deserve love and appreciation from me. They do not deserve Christian judgment from me because they are seeing me as a safe person. So then I should be that safe person for them. But other Christians, they will have it. They will absolutely have it from me, and I will not hold back.
Let me give you two scenarios. Consider this a moral dilemma kind of thing.
Go on, let's go for it. We're in the mood, David. We're heading for an hour. Let's go for it.
So, all right, and I can quit after this. It's fine. I got a handful. Like I said,
it's going to be a 2-hour series of questions. Come on, listeners. You know what he's like.
Two questions, or two scenarios. So, scenario number one: you have a Christian, and they're a friend of yours, and over discussions and such, and maybe a few drinks, you start talking about slavery, biblical slavery, and that gets into some real world slavery examples, and it comes out. You're able to draw it out of them because you're just that good at conversation. That and you come to find out, well, they don't really have a problem with slavery as an institution. They don't believe that American slavery was any different in kind than biblical slavery, and that Christians ought to stop apologizing for it. Because, slavery probably okay. And if God wanted to make us, be socially equal, he would have made us all the same, but he didn't. And some people are social subordinates, and blacks should be put in cages. So that just comes out, matter of factly, because you were able to draw it out. Are those people still your friend? Are you going to say, well, at least they discussed it nicely, and so I'm gonna. That's okay, I think. That's scenario number one. Scenario number two. You have some other Christian friends, and Kanye West is one of them, and they're praising Hitler. Uh, Hitler, great guy, never did the right things. But they love puppies, and they give to charities and so forth. But they're Hitlerites. They're Nazis. Uh, does that affect the way you treat them? Now then, to bring these scenarios together, Christian, let's say Fundy Christian, we know what they believe. They believe in a God who is worse in the story than the devil. Is worse in the story by far than Hitler on his worst day. Why are you giving them a pass when you probably wouldn't give the Nazi a pass, even though they're nice? or the slaver a pass. In some ways, the Christian who is not outwardly expressing those things is just as bad, if not worse, because we know what they do endorse. And they actually do endorse things that are worse than that. And they look at you, and if they consider you before they go to sleep at night, they only see you burning in hell. And rightfully so. How do you regard one of those different than the others?
I love it when you ask me tough questions, David. Let's first of all go to your two scenarios. My first response would be I would want to ask more questions to find out how the depth of their feelings goes, but I'm pretty sure that will be the end of the friendship.
Mm-hmm.
I'm confident enough in the Christians that I know that I call friends that none of them hold any views like that. So I feel safe in the moment that those two scenarios that you presented to me are entirely improbably fictional from my perspective, and I'm very glad about that because I do not want to be in either of those situations. But I'm confident that in either of those situations that would be the end of the friendship, and while I was there I would definitely push to find out quite how deep their commitment to those two atrocious lines of thought are.
Mm-hmm.
The more nuanced follow-up, I am pretty sure there are people I know on the periphery, because there are people in the church that my wife goes to who are on the edges, who know who I am, but I very rarely
Well,
interact.
let's put a face and a name to it. William Lane Craig.
I do not like him.
Okay, I'm just putting a face and a name to it.
I-
He's obviously
I-
not going to say that we should have slaves today, although J-Mac said that. J-Mac was pro-slavery. We we can play his clip
Yeah.
if you like.
Yeah.
So William Lane Craig, he believes that it was good for the babies to be killed and slaughtered in the wars. He believes that whatever God says, that is the moral high ground, and we should appreciate that. Friends who will say, when I put to them the question, and so I can actually put real faces to these things. I don't want to call out any names that that we know in our own groups, but they would say that if how will you not have tears in heaven knowing that your wife and kids are burning in hell? And the answer, I've actually heard this from a few people. The answer is, but when we're in heaven, we'll see them the way God sees them. We'll see them as ugly, repulsive creatures, demonic creatures, and we'll be glad that they're suffering in hell.
I've seen you on your boards be gentle with people who I felt didn't deserve the gentleness that you extended towards them. So I admire you for that. I won't mention them, but there are names of people who I've seen on your boards who I would not host on Still Unbelievable. And so, yeah, there are places where I draw the line. And I've had that conversation with Sarah, because I
wouldn't let William Lane Craig on my board.
Yeah, he's a good example, because if his people said, Matthew, can the great William LeCraig come and have a chat with you, I would at the very least think about it. Let's go to somebody different, somebody who I would pretty much say no to.
John Lennox.
I've been listening to some of his content. I've done a really good John Lennox takedown episode, and I've had some great feedback from that. I think I need to do another one, because he's put out a lot of content recently. He's been on some big podcasts.
As much as I'm not a Linux fan, I would host Linux
I'm not sure I would.
Easier than I would William Lane Craig.
I probably wouldn't, because I just don't like the way he speaks. He starts talking and then he regurgitates up this memorized spiel of
I
nonsense, and it's impossible to actually
I know
talk
it's smarmy.
properly with him. The only kind of guesting he does well is where you ask a question and then you shut up for 20 minutes so he can talk it. He doesn't do
Yeah.
conversation. And so I want somebody. But anyway, to get back to it, Mike Jones, inspiring philosophy. Oh, I would not host him
Oh
on Still Believe Me. I
no,
detest him.
no.
And the line that he's drawn, there are several lines, but one of the big thick lines that he's crossed with me is his uh, unapologetic, enthusiastic support of missionary activity and his long list of all these wonderful things that missionaries are allegedly done. Again, this is another response episode that I've been planning for on Still Unbelievable because
Mm,
missionary activity is atrocious to the nations in which it's happened on, and he is so blind to it that he actually thinks it's great. And for me,
mhm.
the fact that he holds that view disqualifies any conversation that I could possibly have with him on any platform. End of. Full stop.
Yeah, yeah. So, not letting you off the hook.
I didn't think that
I
would.
find my yeah, no, but it's good. It's good. That's right, Linux. So, what I'm what I'm saying is, it's a very hard thing for me. I have Christian friends too, dear Christian friends that I would go to church with today
Mhm.
and enjoy the experience because I know who they are. You know, um, people may not believe that about me, but it's true. I don't. There's nothing special about a church building or a service or anything like that. That's it's all just bullshit to me. It's the people um, and the the fellowship of friends and family. Um, but that said, yeah, I want to treat everyone with basic human dignity. And this may just be a situation where I'm not fit for the job I do,
Mhm.
and I may should just stop doing it because Sam Harris, he can have a conversation with anybody,
Mhm.
um, and I do not find fault with Sam Harris like I do with Alex sometimes because I think that Alex can be too much of an accommodationist at times. At times, Sam Harris is not an accommodationist. he, is, he is not, and yet he is able to hold a fruitful, uh, steady, level-headed conversation with skinheads. It's a form of neo-Nazism.
Yeah.
He can do that. He can talk with Doug Williams. You know, he can Doug Wilson. He can. I think he could have a good interview with the devil uh, without pulling any punches, and yet without changing his voice or demeanor through the entire thing. He has a particular special gift or some particular special drug that I do not have because there is a point where your beliefs are enough to create a barrier. Um, right? I mean, I love you. I want to love you. Um, you think that my mother should burn in hell because she was a member of the Church of Christ instead of a Baptist. Um, in the grand scheme of things, that's a very innocent thought, right? Because that's just denominationalism. That's just good old American denominationalism. That's how we think about people. That's how we talk. But to the extent that I think you mean it, uh, I despise you, and you should be stripped of all of life's opportunities because you are unstable, right? That you can go around not just thinking that, but you feel confident enough to say it out loud, and you don't understand what kind of societal damage that does because it damages people. Um, it emboldens the crazies who then are emboldened to take away opportunities from the weak. So there's a whole cascading effect of these things, and I know that a lot of people are listening um, uh, would say, "Hey, buddy, I'm going to use this word you used the other day." Okay, that I'm catastrophizing on these little things, but I know the connections that these little things have to big things, right? So in a vacuum, little things are little things. Screw it.
They're the perfect
But
canary for this kind of conversation.
right. So in fact, we were talking about this earlier with politics. It's the death of a thousand cuts.
Yeah.
It's politics is a bunch of little things that get you into position for the big things. And enough of the little things, if you can get away with one little thing, then you can normalize it, and then you can get away with another little thing, and then another little thing that's a little bit worse, but it's normalized and that's okay, and then we acclimatize that. These little things matter a lot because that's how the big things happen. The big things
Yeah.
don't just bust out of the quantum foam.
Yeah.
They come from the little things that we've allowed. Um, that's that's how it happens. It's not one day all of a sudden the races were doing well and then boom, slavery. That's not how you get to slavery.
No.
that's
Yes.
that's a misunderstanding of the little things that someone maybe should have tried to catastrophize while they were little, so they didn't become slavery.
Yeah.
Um, so I understand that we think of this kind of thought process as just plain old denominationalism, and this is how it is. Nobody really means it, and um, if nobody really means it, then we ought to shut down the denominations,
Yeah.
right? But that will never happen. That will never happen. And if we tried, then all of the little insults that you and I get because we're non-believers would become lynchings,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's so you're just looking at the tip end of a thing and you're saying, "Ah, it's a little thing." No, it's not. That's just the that's just the tip of the tail of a very large beast.
Yeah.
And that large beast already exists. Right?
Yeah.
So let's do more catastrophizing
Yeah.
and uncloaking the beast that's there. And if we do that, and if we apply that to our religious friends, then we might end up with fewer religious friends. And I don't know how to deal with that. I don't have answers. All I know is that I can't give a pass to someone who says, "Oh yes, I love Jesus. I give to the poor. Amen. That's good. I have adopted 3 kids. Fantastic. Amen. Uh, and I pray every night for all of the people who are going to be burning in hell, because Jesus said that most people are going to burn in hell."
Yeah.
And at that point, I can't say amen. I can't even say, "Well, at least you're a good person," because you're a fucking sociopath.
Yeah. So, real life question then, David, on the basis of that, 'cause I think that's good. I think we should challenge the little things, because the more we challenge the little things, the more we hold back the big things. You know, if you mow your lawn every weekend, just cut a tiny little bit off, you'll always have a nice short lawn. If you leave it and do nothing for a month, you're not going to have a good time trying to cut that the next time. So let's
No,
keep
you
it
have
short
my
regularly.
backyard. Shall we point my non-camera at my backyard over here?
I mowed mine at the weekend. I was like, yeah, I left it a week too long, but it was just about manageable. So anyway,
It has been raining every day, almost
yeah,
nonstop.
yeah, it's not good. It's
Boy,
not
does
good,
this
is it?
grass respond to that down here.
No.
Oh,
So, real situation, and this, my wife and I have had conversations about this. a friend of ours has on multiple occasions said, when we've been having conversations on dinner, etc., she said, "And Matthew, you're just as much a man of faith as we are." And that grinds me. It absolutely grinds me. It's almost like a button for me. But for the sake of the friendship, I've just gone, keep quiet, do nothing, say nothing. And the last time that happened, Sarah actually stood up for me and said, "No, Matthew doesn't have any faith. He doesn't respect faith." And I was like, "Bless you, Sarah, thank you, but I didn't want to provoke a scenario." Am I doing the right thing in that situation? What would you do in that situation?
Well, it really depends on the situation. If it's Thanksgiving dinner and everyone's 3 sheets to the wind anyway, I would say, yeah, you're wrong. I don't. And we just dive in elbows deep until the pie was served. Um,
Pumpkin pie,
but
I hope.
if we're, of course, it's, well, sweet potato in our case.
Nice. Perfect.
Because a sweet potato pie is better than a pumpkin pie every day of the week.
Yep.
Sorry, all of you pumpkin lovers.
No, I'm with you.
You're wrong.
I ate sweet potato raw out of the ground as a child. I know how good sweet potato is. I'm with you all the way on that one, David.
That's right. You ate it out of your.
I'm an African.
Wow.
What more can I say? I'm sorry.
I don't know, man. I'm trying not to have racist thoughts or anything, but I see you as a kid now scrabbling on the ground with your African friend, sticking your face in a hole.
Yeah. We washed it first. Come on, we weren't savages.
Okay, well, we wouldn't wash it first here. I'll be honest with you. We just stick our head in there, come out with a potato.
Oh, yeah, I adore sweet potato. Sweet potato is the best thing ever. Anyway, carry on.
Type you got for us, so whatever kind of stereotype you have for us in the South, we're way past that. Your stereotype is tame compared to reality. Yeah, I don't know. Most of the time, me in my real life, I'm riding a bus, going from here to the Apple store, or doing, I'm out and about for whatever reason, going to Walmart to pick up some towels, and I run into some religious nut job, because for me they're all they're all nut jobs, but when they actually come up and talk to me, a stranger, about their religion, they're a real live case there. As far as that is not normal behavior. That's not you should not encourage that behavior. Um, and someone says something equivalent to that to me in my real life, uh, I just nod and smile and say, "You have a nice day. Okay, it's nice to meet you." That's. But understand, that's less me being nice and me more writing you off as a human being. All right, I've I've written you off. There's never going to be a time when I'm going to purposely go to you and ask your opinion about something. I'm never going to ask you to watch my kids. I'm never going to entrust you with anything. If I see that I go to a PTA meeting and you're a teacher at my kid's school, I'm gonna re-enroll my kid. I've written you off because you are a nut job, uh, and I've simply navigated a social situation that involved a nut job. I'm not gonna raise a fuss, but I'm also always gonna think of you as a nut job.
Okay.
Yeah, is that the right thing? Don't know, but
No.
that is my thing. What if they came up to you? Just forget the whole God thing. They came up to you and said, "I know that the love of Satan is in your heart, um, and I too am a worshiper of Lord Satan." And they give you a pamphlet. Do you think that you owe this person any more consideration or less consideration
Yeah.
than the Christian? Because for me, and I've actually read the Bible multiple times, God's worse than the Satan character by a lot,
Mm.
by a lot. And when people talk about, loving God and how I should, God wants to have a relationship to me, it's as if I've run into someone who's read the Harry Potter series and took away from it that Voldemort was the good guy. And we're just in a bizarro upside down world. Now, once again, I understand we're in a world where Christianity is the dominant um, narrative today. I get that. And so it's common for people to latch on to the dominant narrative, even if they don't understand all the details or believe all the things. So I know that it's more complicated than what it sounds like I'm making it out to be. But at the end of the day, it would be no different uh, as if Satanism was the common narrative. And I wouldn't feel any different about the two. So the difference is Satanists don't walk up to you and waste your fucking time proselytizing Lord Satan and giving you a satanic
Yeah.
chick track. That's not what Satanists do. It is what Christians do. I don't
Yeah.
know intellectually why I should treat them any different. Um, I treat them both with the respect that I can.
That's a good point. And maybe we should treat them the same because they are both as batshit as each other. But yeah, I would laugh in the face of the Satanists that did that and maybe think they were slightly unhinged. And I'd give more grace to the Christians saying that.
Right. But
But do they
if you
deserve
just
it?
say to the Christian, you do know about the part of the Bible where God told people to specifically hunt down the kids and the and kill them. Not it's not collateral damage because they set off a bomb and a kid was there. To actually, if you killed all the adults and a kid is there around the corner with them, stab them.
Mm-hmm.
You can imagine after these wars, the cleanup operation. Where parents have maybe stashed their kids because the orders to kill them all.
Mm-hmm.
you know and so if you can imagine yourself saying you are familiar with that part of the Bible, right? You're familiar with that story. You're familiar with what they were supposed to do with the young girls who were too young to have been fucked in that barbaric era. They were too young for that. You know what God told them to do with them,
Mm.
right? Um, and if they say, "Well, yes, I'm familiar with that, but God is good and He has His reasons," I see absolutely no reason why you should regard them any differently than a Nazi or a Satanist or anything else. Just intellectually speaking, I can't find the reason to do it. Emotionally, um, I, it's just the reality of the day that you kind of have to. But if you ask me who should I vote for, as if I gave a damn, all of the politicians are promoting the bad guy.
Yeah.
Which one of them are not sadistic sociopaths? They will both make the same excuses
Mm-hmm.
for the stories that they believe in, that they it's not just an intellectual thing. They take it into their heart and they picture themselves in it, and they would do it. They would follow this God anyway, anywhere. Republican, Democrat, which one of them should I bow down to and give my vote? I don't, man. Um, I just want to eat some hot donuts and
You go
and
have
pretend
yourself
like I'm
some.
not a diabetic.
Or a vegan. Oh, sorry, that's me, not you.
So I'm sorry. That's
No,
all I got.
that's good.
you know,
That's good. Right. Unless there's anything else, David, thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. We did it in half the time this time. So the next time we do this, it'll be 45 minutes. You got that? Can you handle
yeah,
that?
yeah. The next time you do it, you'll actually answer my question. Because
Right. Okay.
so,
Right. Before we wind up, though, quick personal news. I'm going to really upset David again. The whole moving house thing is on. It's on. I don't know when yet. Probably in about 6
You're
weeks.
not moving a house. Americans, okay, let me just talk to the Southerners for a moment because they're real confused. Okay? Because in these parts, a mobile home, it's not that uncommon to see one being driven.
No, it's
down
not one
the
of them.
street,
It's not
okay,
one of
where
them.
where
We don't put it on a
literally
truck.
moving house.
We put it in a
Okay,
truck.
Yeah, you put it on the truck bed. I've bought a brand new mobile home. I watched that thing get moved. We moved house. Okay, that shit happens here. When
Not
I was in
yet.
school, there was a house that was it belonged to I think maybe a past governor or one of them. Anyway, we had a campus, and we all got out of school that day. And we watched them as the trucks came and as they moved the house. So I'm just trying to translate for you to them, people, especially people of the South. When he says he's moving house, it's not what you think. Okay, he's just moving. That's all. All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go back to that.
So hopefully in about 6 weeks, maybe a little less, we shall see. So maybe the next time you see me on video, that ladder will not be there. It'll be somewhere else, and that door won't be there. It'll be somewhere else. So we shall see.
So are you actually moving the house piece?
No, because I'll be in a different house.
door-
I'll have moved from this house to the other house, so I'll be in a different house. So I'll have moved house. God, you
Okay,
guys.
but if you move the door and then the windows, maybe rip up the rug.
All right,
it's like a house
that door will still be there. I just won't be here. All right, that ladder will be somewhere else. That window will still be there, but not with me in it. That camera will be in my new place. Maybe we shall see, David. We shall see.
American moving house. It's not just calm down. Just calm down. All right.
And on that bombshell, and until next time, you've been listening to David and Matthew talking smack. Please be reasonable.
Actually,